So let's get to the crazy story of the day. It is kind of funny, I think, that really, as far as considering everything that's happening, considering all that's at stake with the murder, the assassination of Brian Thompson, a CEO of a huge, gigantic company, considering everything that we know and that we're learning every minute, it seems, about Luigi Mangione, the guy who allegedly committed the murder, and it seems all everything's pointing towards him. You would think that there would be a lot more conspiracy theories floating around, but I'll admit there weren't nearly as many as I thought. Okay, I track them down. I go to all the sites, all the conspiracy theory areas, and I'm looking for whatever they're talking about. And it's conspicuous that they're not talking about much. You have on one hand, you have some people that are saying, "Oh, it's all MK Ultra," and that might be the case. So other people are saying, "Oh, it's definitely not him. He's a patsy. He's a scapegoat. He's not the real killer because of this, that, or the other." I'm not buying into that part nearly as much. I mean, it seems as if he's likely the guy. But here's the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and do this in reverse. I'm not going to paint the conspiracy necessarily up front. I'm going to look at the situation and hopefully bring you around to understanding why I believe that this is definitely manufactured. Again, I'm not suggesting that Luigi Mangione is not the assassin. Okay, we're not going. I'm not even going to entertain that thought because it does appear that he is. I'm not suggesting, by the way, that I'm 100% certain either. To be clear, I'm not. I would say there's probably about a 99% chance, though. But we will allow for some chance that he is not the real guy. But I think he is, and I think that he is for a reason. I think that he was pushed into this, whether he knows it or not. We can get into mind control, psychedelics. We can get into all this other stuff, but I'll explain why it's important that he was used. But first, let's go ahead and start talking about the peculiarities of the case. Most peculiar thing to me is that, well, not the most peculiar. We'll start off with the part that is, I guess you could say, goes against the idea that this is a conspiracy. And that's the fact that this is all very, very, very neat. I mean, it's just custom made for consumption and for driving the idea that here's a kid, wicked smart, super brilliant, Ivy League, cum laude this, cum laude that, right? But he was indoctrinated. Oh, his manifesto mentions Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. His manifesto talks about the evils of capitalism, the evils of big pharma or insurance or healthcare in general. The system's broken and he's got to fix it. Okay? That makes sense. Then there's the question of, well, how did he get to the point that he's going to craft this plan to actually commit murder, to assassinate? And then, but he had an accident. He was a surfer. Apparently, he had a surfing accident, broke his back. He's got all this gruesome X-rays of these pins. I mean, it's painful to look at the image, let alone to have those actual pieces of, I assume, metal, maybe plastic, who knows, but something screwed into his back in like 4 different spots. It looks painful. And then we hear the stories that he was in extreme pain. He was seeking remedies. He was even getting involved in psychedelics. Oh, once you start saying, oh, he was into psychedelics, now you've given not just corporate media, but even alternative media, fringe media, conspiracy theorists are all like, oh yeah, this is it makes sense that he went crazy and committed these murders, that he acted upon this brainwash and this indoctrination that he's put himself through. He's Ivy League guy, going against a system that he hates. Both of his grandparents died. Ooh, grandparents dying. You know, I know I'm making light of this. I'm sounding skeptical, but everything I've stated so far has been pretty accurate, right? He detached from his family. They were looking for him. They were sending messages. His friends were looking for him. Everybody was concerned about him. So the picture of Luigi Mangione as a guy that was fine, and then he cracked, and then he killed. Okay, that picture is an easy one to paint based upon everything we know so far. So then you look at, well, he had to flirt, and so he had his full face was visible in one of the pictures. Okay, and we have other pictures. We've got the videos. We got this. We got evidence. Oh, they found a backpack. You know, they found all this stuff, and you start hearing reports that we believe the NYPD believes that he has left the city. You know, found this evidence in Central Park. Found this. You know, he escaped on a bike. Then he was on a cab. Then he was on a bus. Okay. Again, a very convenient narrative that fits very neatly into what you and I, can accept. He goes to McDonald's. This is where it gets a little bit weird. He goes to a McDonald's. Here, the most sought after man in America at the time, whose face has been on every news website and on every television in America. And he thinks, hey, I'm going to go to McDonald's. I'm going to eat at McDonald's. I'm just going to, keep my head down, rush in, grab the bag, and go hide somewhere in a someplace else. No, I'm going to allow myself to be visible. I'm going to carry a bag, and in this bag is the murder weapon and a manifesto. So now we start getting this idea that, hey, okay, so not only did he crack and commit these murders, but now the narrative is he was either wanting to get caught or was expecting to get caught. Otherwise, why would he have all the evidence to convict him with him while he's eating hash browns at McDonald's? Makes sense, right? It's all very neat. But then it gets a little bit murkier. Then we hear that he, given that he had this, what is apparently a Faraday bag filled with the murder weapon, a suppressor, passports, fake IDs, a 262-page manifesto. In the manifesto, he's claiming that, hey, I had to do it, it had to be done. And, oh, by the way, to prevent any lengthy investigations, I worked alone. It's awfully courteous of him to tell investigators that he worked alone. But he didn't deny any of those things. Well, he sort of denied the Faraday bag. Not deny it, but he just said it was a waterproof bag. He's not sure about if that demonstrated sophistication in his planning, as the police were suggesting. Law enforcement was suggesting that because he had everything in a Faraday bag, which would cut off the ability to track, say, cell phones, because he had everything in a Faraday bag, that demonstrates sophistication. He's like, I don't know about sophistication. It was a waterproof bag. So it seems like maybe he had a Faraday bag and he didn't realize it was a Faraday bag. He thought it was just waterproof. I don't know. Not sure what that suggests. But the thing that he did take a great offense to was the notion that he had $10,000, $8,000 in U.S. dollars, $2,000 in foreign currency. He didn't agree. He thinks that was planted. Okay, now all of a sudden, whoa, wait a second. You're telling me that he either he claims, either he's lying, and if he's going to lie about anything, why would he lie about that one? Because that's not going to be used that's not a major, huge piece of evidence that he's the killer. It's useful to prevent him from being granted bail, which he was, but I think he probably would have been denied bail anyway, considering the gravity of the situation, just even having the passports. He didn't deny the passport. Having the passport present, yeah, I'm not buying that. So he denies that. So either he's crazy, which a lot of people think he is. That's the prevailing narrative. Or he's stupid, which nobody thinks he is. Or he's correct that $10,000 was planted for some reason. Again, maybe to ensure that he wasn't going to get bail, maybe to add some intrigue. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a tough one. But it is conspicuous that of all the things to deny, why would he deny that one? And then why, if he wanted to get caught or was expecting to get caught, he brought the manifesto with him, and yet he says this. Watch.
It's completely out of touch. And it's insult to the intelligence of the American people and its lived experience.
Now that to me does not sound like a guy who is, he committed his crime. He was ready to face justice. He didn't want to. That's why he ran, but he was ready for it. No, it doesn't seem like he was ready for it. He thinks that there's a conspiracy against him. Now you go, but that's paranoid. That's just schizophrenia. That's this. He was psychedelics and drugs. Everything is very neat in that there's an explanation for all of it, right? But then we get into other little tidbits of questionable things. None of it's enough to say, oh my gosh, conspiracy for sure. But if you put it all together, it just makes everything seem weird. For example, manifestos, generally speaking, do not get released. And on the day of his arrest, not only are they already talking about releasing it for some reason, but they've already given bits and pieces of it to the press to sprinkle around. Watch this.
We found out that he had grandparents who died in 2013 and 2017, respectively. But there's nothing so far to link anyone in his family to some bitterness against the health insurance industry.
All right, well, we need to take a look at the manifesto.
Yes.
That's a manifesto I think we're going to see.
We will see. In fact, I have a quote right here from it if you want to hear something. These parasites had it coming. I do apologize for any stress and drama, but it had to be done, from his manifesto in his backpack.
All right, well, he wanted to be famous, and now he is.
You got it.
Not a good way.
They don't release manifestos. They just don't. And yet, this guy's going to get his manifesto released? I mean, they say, and I don't remember when it was. It wasn't too long ago, within the last decade. I remember hearing a report, and it was standard operating procedure for the FBI to withhold manifestos because they don't want to encourage people to commit crimes for the sake of getting their manifestos out. No, actually, you know what? It definitely was longer than a decade ago. Now that I think about it, gosh, I'm getting old. It's probably 2 decades ago. But I remember them saying that hey, you know what? We would love to release the manifesto to demonstrate this, that, or the other, but we don't want to encourage people to write manifestos and then go become mass murderers or serial killers or anything like that. So standard operating procedure, don't release the manifesto. That way they know, them being the Ted Kaczynskis of the world or whoever, they know that they're not going to be able to get their message out to the world. They're not going to be able to kill their way into fame. Well, not fame, but at least into spreading their ideology. But this one's going to get released. So you got a genius who gets busted at McDonald's. You have a bag full of evidence, and the only thing that he denies is the part that isn't going to help him in his defense. You have everybody and their dog saying they didn't see it coming, that he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. But you can justify that. It's very neat that you can use the skeleton key of back pain and psychedelics. Apparently that combination turns you into a sort of brilliant and yet also sort of idiotic murderer, assassin of a CEO. So then, looking at all this, it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point of this guy? And this is why I believe this to be a potential, high potential conspiracy. If you want to kill somebody, you being, let's say you're the deep state or the mafia or China or whoever, and you want to kill somebody, you can pretty much do it. If you have the resources, it happens fairly regularly, apparently. Those with the resources and the evil natures and the desire can pretty much kill anybody, right? Except for President Trump, apparently. Praise God for that. But yeah, you can send a professional assassin to kill Brian Thompson, and that assassin would probably not be seen the way that Luigi Mangione was seen. Almost certainly wouldn't get caught, and that would be it. The target would be dead, and it would be a mystery. That's option one. Option two is to stage it, make it look like an accident, which happens, again, fairly regularly. Maybe all the time. Maybe there's a lot more than I even know about, but we do know that it can happen, and it does happen, and they are able to make it happen. But there's something that happens when you either have a professional assassination, no witnesses, no cameras, no evidence, just dude's dead, or there's an accident and it's suspicious. What is the common denominator between those two scenarios? The focus turns to the victim. And that victim will be dug into by investigative journalists, by other members of law enforcement, by whoever, by a lot of people. Internet sleuths will start digging deeper. Investigations. But when you have somebody like Luigi Mangione, who is attractive, troubled, has various traits, again, the images of his back, the fact that he was graduated cum laude at an Ivy League school, the fact that he was visible, people knew him. His family is very wealthy in the elder care industry. Went to a prestigious school. That's all of these various things about him that are extremely interesting. And now, today, and really since even the early days of the investigation, of the early days following the assassination, the focus has been on the suspect even before he was caught. Pictures of him floating around. He's conspicuously, had to flirt with somebody and show his face. Had to take a cab or an Uber or whatever and show his face. His face is everywhere. He's, they've got all this focus on him. Now, yes, there was some focus on Brian Thompson, of course, because we're talking about the CEO of one of the most powerful companies in America. That's going to draw some attention. But all of the rest of the attention kept getting diverted back to the suspect. And now that we know who the suspect is, and he's in custody, and he has all these new, interesting traits about him, the focus is 99% on him. Unlike with a professional assassination or a staged accident, the focus is on the suspect, not the victim. If you go with option one, professional hit job, or option two, faked accident, the focus is on the victim. I would argue that if this is indeed a conspiracy, that it's designed specifically to draw yours and my attention away from what's important, that being the victim, and putting all of our attention on Luigi Mangione. Even his name is interesting. Everything is pointing towards him. Nothing is pointing towards Brian Thompson, who, yes, was going to testify, whose company was under investigation, who's going to discuss insider trading, possibly involving important people. Not going to say, not going to jump in there because I haven't been able to confirm it yet. But there are allegedly very important people that he was going to be possibly testifying against. His company was also involved in one of the largest cyber breaches in history. About 1/3 of Americans had their data stolen and ransomwared by hackers. And it included, possibly, they won't say one way or the other, but it's very possible that it included Social Security numbers. 1/3 of Americans had their data stolen earlier this year from United Healthcare. They had to pay, I think they paid like $22 million. $22 million in ransom for your data, which was already now out there. Is there something crazy about that? I don't know. I don't know what he was involved with or what he... But again, and I'm not suggesting... I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting wrongdoing. I'm not implying wrongdoing by Brian Thompson. What I'm implying is that it's possible that powerful people, deep state, again, mafia, China, could be anybody, but powerful people needed him dead and also needed to make sure nobody dug too deep into him or into his life or into what he was doing. And the only way that you can accomplish both of those is to have somebody like Luigi Mangione commit the murder. That's what I think this conspiracy is. This is what's been in the back of my mind this whole time, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I know I'm not alone. I know other people are like, well, this is all sort of neat, but what is it? What is it? What's really happening here? I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I do know that it jibes. It passes the smell test in ways that Luigi Mangione being a just a guy who went off the deep end. That does it fit? Sure, but almost too well. It's too neat. And people say, "Oh, well, that's what you conspiracy theorists do. You take something that's very, very obvious. You take the simple solution and you complicate it." Okay, yeah, that's true. It's true. But only because the simple answer in this case isn't as simple as you think if you look at it, if you look at all the moving parts. Why is he at a McDonald's with all the incriminating evidence against him right there? Why was he so brilliant he could escape, but not brilliant enough to eat his hash browns in the forest or in a park on a park bench, in a secluded park or something? Why did he go through so much trouble to not get caught and then get caught in the dumbest way? Why did either he lie about the money that he claims was planted, or that the money actually was planted? Why would they plant it? Or why would he lie about it? Why would he have that outburst and claim that it's an insult to Americans' intelligence, that this was unjust? I mean, it's close to fitting exactly perfectly, but the parts that don't fit at all. And that's why the only thing I can think of, and this, I've been putting way too much time into this, unfortunately, but the only thing I can think of is that all of this is designed to draw our attention to Luigi Mangione and the weird leftists that are cheering him on, and the efforts of law enforcement, and the dangers of psychedelic drugs, and the bad guys in whoever put those screws in his back, and surfing is dangerous. I don't know, but we've got all these narratives that are popping up, and now nobody's talking about Brian Thompson anymore. And to me, it's not neat at all. To me, it looks very, very, very manufactured and not in a neat way. Let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like and comment if you would. Even if you just comment saying, hey, love the show. Comments help. Likes help. Subscriptions obviously help. You can follow me. Walk with me. I don't even like the word follow because I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm asking you to walk together. I'm very responsive on my X account, x.com/JD Rucker. But you can find out all the various places where I am by going to jdrucker.com/find. And hopefully we'll have more answers tomorrow. Lord willing, I will be back tomorrow with another episode. But in the meantime, stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.